Oh, hey, I didn't see you. Sorry, just testing if it's empty or not.
You sure about that?
And maybe I like the smell of brake cleaner. Anyways. Hi, it's Charlie, Broke Dad Builds. Coming to you from the garage again. I'm gonna talk about the C10 because really that's all I got to work on right now. More stuff to come later, hopefully. But we'll go over wiring up a LS the cheap way, because we don't want to spend too much money on LS swapping a old square body unless you got like a show truck or something. But you could do this with any kind of LS swap vehicle, really. So we'll get into it. We'll go over what I did, and to each his own, right? Let's check it out. All right. So if you got yourself an LS engine and you want to wire it up, you got different options you can do. You can go with a standalone Amazon, eBay engine harness, which is fine, but the quality isn't really there, you know, because it's who can make it the cheapest from China and sell it the fastest, really. So the wiring is questionable, and don't really trust the connectors on them, or making sure that they're pinned correctly anyway, especially when they plug into the ECU. So the most reliable option is find yourself a Junkyard engine harness. It's just from any, 2002 and up GM truck, SUV. Just make sure that you get the right connector for the ECU that you have. So this one's got the blue-red connector. So that's the P01 ECU. The newer ones, it's got the drive-by wire, or the P58 from what I recall. But for this, just get yourself the harness. Find you a truck at the junkyard, pull the fuse box, get that off. Disconnect the harness from everything on the trans and engine if it's still in there. Get the fuse box, the wiring, get extra sensors while you're at it, because you never know, you could always have spares. Get the PCM or the ECU if you don't have one. But if you already got one, just take the connector, the whole harness without the PCM, or just take the PCM and you can take the fancy little enclosure, which I still gotta make a bracket to connect that and mount it somewhere because it's just loose, but it's fine. And make sure you get your fans. So you can run electric fans. That's if it's a newer truck, like Escalades, newer Escalades, and the newer, I don't think Suburbans, but the Escalades would come with electric fans, and they have a little fuse box for the electric fans. It's over here on the right side, which I have it under here. It's just covered up. But yeah, so for all the wiring, just get yourself the Junkyard engine harness, fuse box, and to make it standalone, you don't need a whole lot, just a few wires. You can look at the LT1 Swap website. It goes over all the detail instructions on how to make it work, which we could go over that another time. Let me know in the comments if you want to go over more detailed wiring stuff, because it can be a bear. So let me know. So this is pretty much all you need. You also need to figure out how you're wanting to wire into the cab of your truck. If you got a square body or a Chevy, whatever, or any other vehicle, you got to figure out how you want to wire the fuse box and connect it to the interior for the key. For me, I ended up having to get a brand new wiring harness, which I did get a cheap Amazon one for the interior cab, which I'll show you that. Now, join me if you will. Let's go inside the cab and you can look underneath my dash and see what the junk is. Let's check out my junk in the cab. Alright, there's our start ignition switch, which is the power on. And then I got this cheap little engine start, which the single pole throw switch is for the ECM power and fuel pump. And then I got the starter button for the starter right next to it. And then all of that is wired into the cheap 16 fuse engine harness off Amazon. It's got all the fuses that you need, a relay for the starter, and then a blinker for my turn signals. And what I've done is I've taken this big connector that I took off of a vehicle in the junkyard, and I just wired in the fuse box, the fuse box in the engine compartment. I wired that up to this connector, and then I took these wires and ran them to this fuse box. So the engine on, fuel pump, all that stuff that gets triggered to the fuse box in the in the engine compartment, that goes to the ECU. It all gets routed through here, as well as right here. So I ended up making a schematic of it all, and I lost it. So it'll be fun whenever I have to go and figure out the wiring again. But anyways, this works. I've not had any issues with it. And I got a lot of spare wires I could use. I do have my OBD2, the data link, or the data wire from the PCM. I have it, the wire from the C100 connector, which it's a green wire that goes to the PCM. I have it ran to this connector, and then that goes to here. And then I got all my gauge wires for the gauges. Those are all ran straight to the big connector right here. And then that goes to the C100 connector that controls the gauge outputs, other than the stuff that's specifically standalone for these gauges, like the fuel level sender. That goes straight to the fuel level sender. It doesn't go to the ECM at all. Coolant temp, that goes to a coolant temp sensor on the other side of the head. For the passenger head, oil pressure, and that's also not going to through the PCM either, because if you know about the LS engines, the early model LS engines with the 2 or 1 pin connector, that's just a low oil pressure switch. It's not an actual 3 pin pressure sensor. So yeah, We got key on, power on, fuel pump and ECM power, engine start. I can flip that up and drive down the road. No issues. Well, no issues up until the point that the drive shaft decided to self-delete, where the U-joints decided to self-delete. And smack the drive shaft across the bottom of the cab and bending the drive shaft. You know, that's fine. But that's pretty much the overview of the harness on how to wire up an LS using factory stuff mostly. I'll throw some pictures up on the screen real quick. Over there, over here, somewhere. Just where you can kind of see the mess that I had to deal with in trying to wiring up. And if you've done one of these swaps before, you know that it's a challenge doing wiring, but I enjoy doing the wiring. It's fun. I guess I like messing with spaghetti, because that's what it was when I was doing the wiring. It was like a bunch of spaghetti, and I was trying to find the one that was just right. Kind of want spaghetti. Anyways, yeah, I lost my train of thought. It happens all the time with me. But yeah, thanks for sticking around. This is just a quick overview of the electrical stuff. I got some other things to go over, like going over how to rework LS cylinder heads, or just any cylinder head in general, really. Testing it to see if it leaks, if the valve seats are good, lapping valves, and just checking them out. If you want to see that, let me know. I got a set of heads that I worked on before getting the set that's on the LS right now. That's just been sitting here. I didn't actually test them to see if the valve seats were good or not, but I'm sure they need to be cleaned up. I'm sure the valves need to be lapped. You know what I mean? Let me know if you want to see more, if you want to see stuff like that. And also, the drive shaft. I got to get a new one. It got a little bent, like I said, and the truck's dead in the water until I get a new drive shaft and get the rear pinion yoke replaced, because the pinion yoke was crap when the drive shaft went to crap. So stuff happens. Roll with the punches. Water under the fridge, or the bridge. But anyway, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, share with your friends.